behind the scenes.
Therapy.
All right. Okay, we are back. Episode 66 with our very special guest and producer, Alex Alvarez.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, from behind the camera to in front of the camera.
I hate it. I hate it.
No, we've been trying to do this for a while. Luckily, our third leg of the tripod, Ben Gonzalez. Ben, we're talking about you. Forgot we had a podcast today because that's what a host does. Forget about the show.
There's a Coca-Cola right here that was supposed to be for you, but now it's Alex's.
Now Alex gets a free Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Our soon-to-be sponsor.
Oh, I hope that like ASMR comes in.
Yeah.
Is it delicious? It's even better because it's not yours. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. A little bit of tears in that. Well, if you've seen his set, that's a little bit of tears in that. Yeah.
Sad.
What's going on, guys?
You know, just getting ready for 2025. It's here, so trying to make this year good.
Okay. That's hard for you.
It is.
That's hard for you,
Eric's
Eric.
like a multi dude. He's like a
yeah. I'm
the proverbial stick in the mud.
Yeah. What did my coworker today? He called me Angry Bird. Yeah. He's like, you're like Angry Bird. I'm like, yeah, I'm an Angry Bird.
He's a very happy-go-lucky dude.
Yeah, he's the opposite. You gotta have a yin to the yang, you know.
Yeah.
So like, I'm the exact opposite of him.
You're a lot of people's yang.
Yeah. Well, I'm the pessimistic person of the group.
Cynical is the word I like.
Yeah. Cynical.
But like. Is it conservative cynical?
I think cynical. Like I have a certain amount of cynicism, but then there's just a general pessimist, and that's where Eric falls. He's like he's just like nothing's ever going to work, and you're very happy when something doesn't work. Oh, see, I told you so. But like if you always go through that, you're never going to really enjoy things. Like Yeah. Oftentimes I've referred to my marriage in that situation. It was like, it's not going to work. I was like, it was working good till it didn't work, but in the time between, it was like a good run until shit went off the rails. You know.
It's like
that's life.
It's like what I'm working on now, especially with the studio and stuff. I'm trying to always stay organized, and like I got a planner for this year of all the New Year things that we get into, right? And I hate resolutions, y'all. I really do. I used to be like, on the 1st, I'm doing all this. No. March 8th, I'm gonna get to the gym again.
Yeah. If I have like any kind of resolution, I usually think of it before. Like January.
Oh yeah, you gotta plan it out way before.
I start doing it before then, so then it's not like this. Like I'm gonna wait until this thing. I'm like, if I have something I want to do, then I'm gonna like just go and start doing it. Like I don't like put like I'm gonna wait
to be
until
at like a trot at all times. And then when someone's like, all right, and go, then you're already getting into a sprint really fast. But if you're going from like just complete dead stop in like a 3-point stance to then start running, you're gonna be fucking like behind everybody. It's like
you got a head start. You get a head start. It's like everybody that's starting on January 1st was like, I already been doing this for like 3 months or 2 months. Like, and I already like started doing it. So
I started doing my 2025 plans in 2022. I've been fucking
nice.
Moving. Yeah. This is the year finally coming to fruition.
Yeah, exactly. I have been planning this whole time. Yeah. This last 10 years, all part of the plan.
Yeah. This is it. This is where I was trying to be.
Yeah.
Right here.
You're a busy guy though, because you have you not only do you produce this podcast, but there's many, many, many other podcasts that you produce. And so you're just the man behind the scenes, pulling all the bells and the whistles and the all the things, making it happen. So
I appreciate that.
Running our comedy shows here too.
Yeah. Well, we've had a lot of I think when I first started this podcast with y'all, because at first, Mark's obviously the other producer, owner of the studios, and when we first opened the Blue Room, we were all just learning, and now I feel like we're really fine tuning some of this stuff, and hopefully making it easier.
Yeah.
But some of the like hardest times I have laughed have been in the studio. Whether it's this room with you guys or the Blue Room over there, it's been fun. I'm so happy to be here. Yeah.
Makes work good, huh?
Yeah. We've had some shit shows, though. I'm not going to lie.
For sure. Such is life.
Hey, hold on.
That's part of the grind.
Yeah. No, but it happens.
Yeah, I mean, luckily you guys weren't here when we had we tried doing the show during the hurricane
the rain.
Earthquake, hurricane fucking thing, whatever the fuck that was. And I was like...
Yeah, there was like something else going on too, wasn't there?
Yeah, it was a whole bunch of shit. It was like, do not do a show.
It was like the Oscars. It was like all these things. Super Bowl, Oscars. It was like and a hurricane and a fire. And Tony's like, yeah, let's keep this to the show.
Like when you put it out there into the internet, like I've like only canceled a few shows in my fucking in my career in stand up and shit. And it's always those shows, and there's like fucking 30 people. Like no one buys pre-sale, so I don't know how many people are coming. So I'm like, all right, we're gonna fucking just have a
the show must go on, I guess. Yeah, right.
So. Then you get like fucking people like, hey man, we're here. Where's the shows? I'm like, fuck, you didn't like get like the memo's not going out to the ether the same way the promotion did.
Yeah.
That the show stopped, but when there's a fucking like national flood or some kind of crazy shit. Like, I'm like, I don't know, people might still come. And then fucking like no one came. There was like 2 people or some shit that came to that, but it was like, it was still a fun night, but luckily you avoided that.
Still a fun night.
Hey man,
It was, because it was like one of those things where we could all die for the sake of comedy.
but it's like those. It's like going back to the baby steps thing, right? We're taking these baby steps. We learn how to promote better. We fine tune. We had to take some hits. That sound had to go out that night because what happens when we do have someone big here, or if there is a big event.
Yeah.
And like I could tell you some horror stories, but that's a good question. I'm curious. What's like, you go to a lot of the shows, obviously.
Yeah.
What is one of the worst shows you've ever been a part of? We don't need to say names or places, of course.
I'll tell you the place. It was this fucking shitty ass rooftop thing. Because I'll go to like not all of his shows, but for a while I was going to a lot of them, and then now I'm like, all right, I got to pace myself because I want to see him grow as an artist as well as the other comics that he does shows with. So if I go every single night, it's like, okay, I've heard all these jokes and stuff. Like give them time to breathe.
Eric
and
gave
grow.
up on me.
Yeah. No, well, you got to give it some space, and you can contrast like, okay, how were you 6 months ago or 3 months ago, and then compare it to now. Tony he was like, there was like this rooftop show on Sunset somewhere, and I don't know the name of the place. We don't need to
It's literally
say it.
called, He basically said the name.
Rooftop show on Sunset. Nailed. I can tell you 8 of them.
Yeah. And it was supposed to be like, we can go, it'll be free or whatever. But there was like this bodyguard guy there, and he's like, yeah, it's $20. And I was like, all right, like, okay, whatever. Like, I'll support the comedy. And it was fucking freezing that night.
Yeah.
It was freezing. The microphone didn't work, so it would cut out or would like fuzz or whiz or ding or whatever, like throughout everybody's set. And then there was a girl that came up and she started singing, and I'm pretty sure she was just like homeless.
Or
and
on crack, yeah.
Or
for
on
sure.
crack, or like
both.
Or both, yeah. And she did like a set, but she sang. She just it wasn't comedy. It was like she just sang.
Yeah.
And like she had her own little backup music, and it was absolutely fucking horrible. And then the only good part about the whole night was the MC that was doing that show. After she got off the stage, he said, I just touched the mic. I think I have AIDS now. And it was the only funny thing that was said the whole night. It was so fucking horrible. Like, it was just like, just a shit show. Like, literally. Like,
Man.
It was just like a nightmare show.
Even
like,
bad as
everything
bad
could
as
have
that
went
show
wrong.
was, because there's like, I don't know. I mean, that show definitely sucked. But dude, I mean, I've driven hours to go to shows like upstate. They're like, paid road gigs, and there's fucking like
there's
6 people there, and just like
part of the.
That's
and
what
then,
I'm always
and then that
curious,
comes
yeah.
out of your pace, and it's like, all right, I know I promised you like $100, but it's like 15. It's like, that doesn't even pay for the gas. You know what I mean? Like, that's fucking crazy. So,
I played a show when I was playing music with my heavy metal band. We played in Pomona, I think it is. It's like this like little bumblefuck town, middle of nowhere in California, and we get there, and it was like next to like an arcade for like little kids, but it was like tucked away in this little side room, and there was like nobody there, like literally like nobody. There was like 3 little like 5-year-olds or something, and we drove like 3.5 hours. Like, it was like a whole fucking thing. Like, it was just like this huge like ordeal to get up there to play this thing, and there's nobody there, and they're just like, yeah, all right, well, this is what we signed up for. You just got to do that sometimes.
See, what's crazy to me, I'm newish to comedy. We met through some of the early shows, obviously, and what's crazy to me is like, advertising, promotion. I see what people do. I'm on social media all the time, and like, I'm like, how do you get a filled show, and how can we like get people to get eyes on us better, naturally, whatever, right? Other than word of mouth. And it's crazy because when I was doing I was a musician for a little bit. And when I was doing my music gig, thinking I was going to make it big as a band in LA, naturally, man, I remember the best show I had 30 people. Wild. And I thought it was always going to be like that. And so I always searched for that. And I think that's where I was like, oh, I got heartbroken easy.
Yeah, you gotta be able to roll with the punches and shit. And that's the thing, is like, at the end of the day, as long as you're practicing your fucking like your technique and your fucking like your art, the audiences will come and go as the venues and shit that depends. There's really, dude, it's weird. Like,
that's a good point.
There's
Because
not
I thought
like-
I was the best musician in the world at the time. So
but you got to get the reps, and that's the thing. And so it's like, you got to fucking play to the 5 people in the audience like you would 500 people and shit like that. But it is, defeating when there's like only 5 people, and then you have like someone that goes up and they kind of burn out the audience doing like crowd work and fucking ostracizing people. And they're like, okay, fuck, man, like, you know, you're really drawing attention to the elephant in the room that you necessarily don't need to do that. We're just like, now you're making people feel awkward that it is such a small room. So there's ways to navigate that kind of shit. But as far as like a real rhyme or reason, because like when we linked up with Mark, we started doing like shows during the pandemic. We were selling out like we couldn't fucking like get enough tickets for people because we were the only fucking show in town, right? There's like, you know, there wasn't any clubs open and stuff. So Ben and I immediately were like, well, I guess we finally got it. Like we finally dialed in this fucking promotion shit. It's just like, and then once the club started opening up and the fucking audience started thinning out and go back to those things, like, you know, we retained some of those people, but like.
That's true. That was like a really good show.
I went to
every time that you guys had that show, it was packed.
I went to the Tony one that was, because I've seen it a couple times before I started working with Mark. The one time.
That's why you wanted to work with them?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The comedy was good, Eric. No. It was when, we was at that one weird
The pantry?
house
Or the weed cellars?
Is it the weed
They're
cellar?
both closed down. We can talk about them.
I guess another closed down place. So it was on like it's in WeHo. It's on Santa.
The apartment show.
The apartment show.
Oh yeah,
okay.
That place was cool. I never got a taco though.
Yeah.
I never got food, but I got plenty of stuff.
Yeah, it was interesting.
There was tacos there.
We had a lot of weird
Yeah.
promotions.
That was like
shit.
the only. I
like,
think the only venue that you had shows at that I never made it to one of those. I've been there before. I bought weed there.
Yeah.
But I
you knew
never
the guy,
like.
yeah.
I never like went
That's
to a show there.
crazy.
Yeah, we had like a.
Yeah.
That was Marilyn Manson's old.
Yes,
condo.
that's what I wasn't sure. I didn't want to say it. Yeah.
And randomly enough, it was also Judd Apatow and fucking Billy Zane's place at some point in time. But like that was another random like place where it was a cool venue.
What was that movie where he was a superhero?
The Phantom.
Fucking
Yeah,
love
dude.
that movie.
It's a great fucking movie. Yeah.
I mean, Indiana Jones, eat your heart out, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. 2 pistols.
Yeah.
Fucking Kimbo.
Yeah, this guy was he was unstoppable.
Yeah, that was great. Skull Ring.
Yeah.
Dude, that was
that's what I really
another
wanted.
fucking interesting fucking venue. Because like again, too, it's one of those things where like people thought like they're gonna get fucking like get mugged because like you had to go up a dark stairway and shit, and it was very speakeasy.
I feel like we have a speakeasy kind of like venue.
Yeah.
Right. What do you think, Eric? You've played. We do some music here.
It's definitely a speakeasy venue for sure. Like
right?
it's small, it's intimate. You don't need a lot of people to make it feel, you know, like any audience that has been in there, any shows that I've gone to in there, and I've been to over a dozen, you know,
Definitely.
like even if it's like 20 people, 15 people, 10 people, it's enough people to where like that's all you really need. You know, it's enough to appreciate whatever performers are up there, whether it's a comedian or a musician. Everyone's there to like enjoy and to be entertained.
Yeah.
You know, so it's always a good group of people that go to those shows. So as far as it being like a speakeasy, yeah, I definitely think it falls into that category because it's not, you know, like there's no marquee. You know, it's not like you gotta know.
We barely put a piece of paper on the door the other day.
Yeah, you kind of gotta
shows
know.
that we had that were like at the apartment show. Those were tough, man, because like when you start giving out like, you know, free weed, or there's like, you know, I guess free weed for people now that we give it out. You can kind of get your audience a little too stunned. Where like we had a bunch of like free indica pre-rolls that people were like,
was that the weed sellers one?
Yeah, no, it was at the pantry, but it was like we had a sponsor that was like a weed sponsor, and like, you know, people with proper ID could get the weed. It was all regulated.
Oh yeah,
and
I remember.
It was just like they handed out indica, and I was like, dude, people are just. It was like, you know, when you're like really stoned and watching Netflix, and you kind of just like chuckle to yourself, like,
or
like
it's been on the like, would you like to watch this next or
it
something?
was like that with like comedy. I'm like, okay, like, are these jokes even landing?
Was
like,
that the one that was like it was like next to like they sold like
the whole like a Whole Foods market?
Yeah,
type thing.
yeah, I remember that one.
Oof.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's definitely, you know, interesting how these places that
Yeah,
people
well,
do,
again, that
do
was like
comedy.
the pandemic, so people were like, their businesses are fucking running low on money. They're trying to rent out spaces and shit, and we were like, you know, the fucking like saving grace for some of these floundering companies. Like, you can save our business. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to come up with your fucking $20 grand a month of rent and shit for our like $300 a night comedy show. Like, you're out of your fucking mind.
Yeah.
But yeah,
The
that place
West
went under.
Side show, that was always a really good show.
Yeah, I like that show.
Yeah.
So I guess that's well, you kind of answered it. What makes a good show versus a bad show? You know, is it your performance? Is it the crowd's energy? Even if it is 5 or 500, right?
It's both. It's definitely both of those things. But like, it's weird though, because like, you know, I mean, every fucking comic talks about there's just you're just gonna. It's bombing is inevitable, right? So like, even no matter how, if you're getting a stride, you just might have some fucking night, and then sometimes the room just fucking has odd energy, man, and that's just like not to be it's the moon, and fucking Mercury's in retrograde and that kind of bullshit, but like sometimes fucking shit's just weird, dude, and that's just like. That's okay. That's part of the fucking thing. But it's tough to gauge material when you're trying to work on like a new joke or like, okay, I thought this was working, but
But have you ever performed on a stage or venue, minus the one we've just mentioned?
Okay.
Have you ever performed a stage or a venue where you're like, because of the stage or venue, this is complete trash. I can't do my art. I can't do my craft.
Yeah.
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 I've had a venue where. For music it's different, but it could be the same thing for comedy, like that show I just referenced where like the mic's cutting out and like you're like
the mic cutting out is a huge fucking
yeah,
problem.
if you can't really you're not doing what you're being brought there to do, talk, right?
Especially
or
if
sing,
dude, it's funny because that mic would fucking cut out like right when you're delivering a punchline. So you're like, you do this setup and you finally deliver the punch and it fucking cuts out, and then you're like, you either have to repeat it loud a cappella, which is fucking weird. And then it takes people out of that thing where people get hung up on a lot of random shit when you're on stage, like your look, your clothes, whatever, the ambience of the venue. But now that you're engaged in this story and you get to the point of the punchline and then the fucking mic drops out and then there's no sound, they're like, what did you just say? And then there's the front row might laugh and then the other people don't know what the fuck's going on. It's just it's fucking terrible. And that's why I feel like a hardwired mic is always way to go, because the cordless mics seem like the ones that always fucking drop out and shit and that was exactly what that place had all the time. I'm like, why don't you guys just get a fucking regular ass PA? They're cheap. I have one in my trunk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that can definitely mess up the whole vibe of the night, or at least for whatever artist that is ready to perform, playing at a venue where you're kind of at the mercy of whoever's running the sound. And if they're trying to fuck some chick and not paying attention, and you have a drummer whose drums are way too loud, and then your vocals aren't heard, or the guitar is too loud and something, it can really mess up the dynamic of what the audience hears as well as what you're hearing on stage. So I've had other times where out in the audience it sounds great, but on stage it sounds just like you're hitting tin cans and it's fucking, you can't hear me, and it sounds like the guitars are all out of tune, all crazy, but having a good sound engineer, I think, is key for any kind of live performance, whether it be comedy or music. If that's something that is taking people away and distracting them, oh, what the fuck is that? Or why is this coming at me weird? Or why did the mic cut out? Then it takes everybody out of that magical environment of just absorbing the art that you're trying to spread to them.
Interesting, because I was at this venue recently, and it was it was crowd involvement, you had to cheer for the best artist or whatever. Yeah, and I was just so mad at who won. I was just mad at who won but a friend of mine was well, the reason why they won is because they were the most understandable. We heard them the best. Their music or their backing track was the best. Yeah. So thus this group was always destined to do better. Yeah. So I always wonder about that kind of stuff too, because I'm for them, they're it's just another performance, but everyone thinks they're great, dude, because the fucking venue messed up, or people's audios are bad.
I could probably count on one hand, and of how many times I actually got off of a stage and was that was a really good job. We sounded good. I sounded good. I'm really happy with that performance. And most of that is my own, criticism of myself, of being I flubbed this note, or this guy could have sustained this longer, or something like that. But on top of that, with having the mix being nice and it sounding good, and actually being able to have fun on stage, when you can hear yourself and echoing off the back walls, and you're oh wow, this sounds fucking great, it makes you feel different about when you're performing. You're more confident instead of it's fucking all over the place. You're oh my god, this you're mortified while you're oh, I'm only the first song in and this sounds horrible, you know.
Dude, did you ever go to those shows that were at it was called Inside Jokes? Is at the fucking Chinese theater? The little ones there, the satellite theaters, they used to have a room that was it was a converted actual theater for comedy and shit. Okay. And that was fucking weird because it was kind of a theater vibe. So you were had the stadium seating, but the laughs were lost in the open space of the room and shit like that. So it was like this weird thing where you're almost doing like a monologue in front of a bunch of people, and then you get like feedback afterwards, like, "Hey, really liked you." It's like, "Well, I'd fucking love for you to be laughing." We were laughing, but it didn't come back to you. It was just kind of like lost in the ether. It was like a really weird room, dude. Same thing with like Strasbourg, that like acting studio in Santa Monica. I did a show over there like towards the end of last year, and it was like this. I thought it was a straight up stand up comedy show.
Yeah,
it was billed as that, and it was like, this fucking dude hit me up to do a set, and then it was like, "Yeah, you do fucking 10 minutes." I'm like, "Dope." And then we get there, the show is running late. My set gets cut down to like 5 or something like that, and it was a variety show, so it was like people doing fucking spoken word, weird fucking like just weird theater kid shit. So just like a lot of fucking like random ass like scene work and shit. And then I have to go up and do jokes. And there's a fucking judging panel of like 3 people that work for the studio. So like, they're like, after I was done, they're like, they judged my set. I'm like, "You seem kind of sad." I was like, "It's a fucking joke. These are all jokes." Like, I'm not like fucking like it was just like this with the feedback that I got. And then it was the same thing too. There was like rated by applause. It's like, I don't want this. I wanted to get like fucking 10 minutes of stage time. There was gonna be cameras there, but now I'm getting some kind of weird The Voice type vibe that I didn't ask for. And you didn't obviously get the fact that this is like how comedy works and shit. And I was just like, damn, it was like, and you see that shit too, especially with like, newer people that come to comedy shows where like they don't know to laugh, or like they don't know how it works. So those are more like the typical hecklers that like they've never been to a comedy show. They don't realize it's fucking like in a sense a monologue where you're not really supposed to interact with the comic and shit like that. And then, or sometimes there's like, a new comic, so like they have a lot of friends that come and they won't laugh until their friend goes up. It's like they feel like it's like a competition thing. It's like, "Don't laugh till Haley gets up there. These laughs are for her," and shit like that. And then when their friend goes up, they'll kind of break that and start to kind of laugh at the rest of the comics and shit. But it's like, that whole fucking show was like that. I'm like, this is the weirdest thing ever. And I'd already been stuck there for like an hour and a half. I'm like, I can't just leave before going up. Like, I need to get my fucking like my rocks off. But I was just like, is this what I want to fucking do? And I was like, I'll never do that shit again. Like, it was cool to be in a fucking theater that like Marilyn Monroe and like James Dean were at some point in time, like, but this is the kind of vibe I was going for while coming here and shit. It's terrible.
When is it that, because you're a musician, you're a comedian, and right, when I was a musician, paid gig was also food. If they gave you food.
Yeah, food was like, that was basically the only thing we got paid in ever.
I feel like that's gone now.
You get free hot dogs and a beer at the bar. Okay, awesome.
I feel like that's gone now, but at Grind as a comedian, obviously, like, we got to pack up our equipment. We got to, like, audition for stuff. We got to send in tape. We got and I know there's an element of that in the world of comedy. Why is it that comedians so early on in their career feel like they need to start getting paid, whereas musicians so early on in their career, we're like automatic, like, "Oh man, fucking pizza, sick."
Yeah. I think the bar is like just slightly higher than like, the comedian, like, where as far as like I think comics are used to not being paid too. I think anybody really like performing is stoked if they get anything for free, like for a very long time.
Also too, you're talking about
I feel like that's probably with musicians too. With like I should be getting paid right now. Like, would it like do you get those like really like fucking high in their horse?
Maybe I only deal with pompous comedians then. Like,
well, there's a lot of like transplants, because I feel like LA is like, from what everyone's told me, is like the worst place to start comedy, or even experienced comics that come out here. Like, this is a fucking shitty scene. But like, it's where I started, so I really don't know any better. It's like the same thing as the first time I ever lived on my own was in LA. So I only know the absorbently high rent amounts out here, as opposed to living in the Midwest, where it's like dirt cheap. I could have like a fucking mansion for what I pay for my fucking 1-bedroom apartment. Yeah. But the opportunity's not there and stuff. So like, even like, dude, even going to fucking Vegas, like, they pay for you to do spots in Vegas for an open mic. Like, you can do like a feature spot and do 15 minutes in the middle of a fucking open mic and get paid like $50. Like, that's insane. Like, that would never happen out here. But there's actually also audience there, because all of those hotels funnel their fucking like guests.
Yeah, it's an oversaturated market. So if it's an undersaturated market, then you're gonna get if you're like going to a bumblefuck town and like, oh my god, there's entertainment, and then that's the thing. But like, back when I played shows at home or even out here, if we didn't have to pay to play, that was like the benefit. It was like, oh, like, we don't have to pay to play here. Yeah. Like, you'll just have us play here. Yeah. Okay, cool. Like, that was our payment, really, not paying. Like, it wasn't. And then,
We'll let you play
then you
for
get
free.
Everyone gets like 2 drinks at the bar or something like that, like something like that. So it wasn't like, I don't think I've ever gotten paid ever in all the years of doing music, in like 15 years or 20 years, whatever it is. I don't think I ever was like, and here's the money that you get now.
Wow.
Ever, never, not a fucking
Really? And you didn't get paid when you were playing that
Never.
show on the West Side with like the
No.
you and Joe?
You're such a talented
No,
musician. What do you mean?
Never. And I got to play with some.
I got
great,
paid for shit.
great
Yeah,
bands.
but again, too. So that's like the business aspect of all that shit, man.
It was like it was that thing, like you have you've been rewarded with being seen by, like, it's an honor to open up for this band, or to even be in the same presence of
in this venue.
in this venue.
You see what I'm saying? But now switch that to the comedian thing, right? And you get a comedian who opens for someone big, and that goes on their resume. It doesn't matter if that set was good or not. You just assume that you were good enough to open for this person, thus you are a good comedian. Am I wrong? Like,
yeah, the credits, yeah. So like that's.
I mean, yeah, like for music, like I don't like there wasn't any. I guess like maybe back in the day, after we'd open up for some bigger name people, I was like, we'd tell like other venues like, hey, we just opened up for these guys or these guys, and they, sometimes that would be cool, or sometimes it would, like, most of the time it didn't do a fucking thing. It was just like, all right, well, line up, you and everybody else.
Could you get in? Yeah.
I think as you get older, right? I'm trying to think of it now a little bit. I'm like, what was the difference between my grind when I was like 20, other than like age, right?
Yeah.
And my grind now, and I'm just like, oh, holy shit, yeah, like, social media is a big factor.
It is a huge factor.
Right?
Yeah.
What we see, what we don't see, what
Yeah.
we're allowed to see, etc. We can get into that another time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what it was for me is that when I was in my musician world, I was told, like, do this, and you'll get this, this, and this. And so that's what I was always just trying to work for. I'm like, get this audition, get this band, do this thing, get this gig, get that right, get that. And so I felt like for me, I was getting paid. I just wasn't getting paid a lot. I just wasn't making any money. Like I really,
exactly.
like,
Yeah.
I bought dinner every once in a while.
Starving artists, man. That's
Yeah.
what
What'd you
it
play?
is.
I played trumpet.
Oh, okay.
Played trumpet, yeah.
Okay, like a big band.
Yeah, I was in a bunch of different stuff.
Like a ska band?
I was in a bunch of different stuff. It's out there. I don't link it anymore, but yeah, I've been in a bunch of different stuff.
What kind of sound was it?
So I did everything from like rap and hip hop backing tracks with trumpet back tracks, right?
Huh.
And then like this
That's
was
not
before,
the instrument I thought you were going to
Yeah,
say. At
so
all.
I played other
Just
stuff.
bass, maybe.
No,
or
but
something.
I actually, I'm trying to
Yeah.
sell a bass right now. Speaking of all things, yeah, I've done a bunch of other stuff.
Link in bio. Yeah.
Here's my Facebook Marketplace ad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn, dude.
Please stop
trumpet.
fucking lowballing me, you fucking assholes.
Do you listen to a lot of like instrumental bands and shit? Or
I
like,
do.
Yeah.
Like we've talked about
Yeah.
Khruangbin before,
Yeah.
but there's like a
There was
list
like
from
Budo's
there.
band and like the Menahan Street band and all those like the Daptones label shit from like the.
I definitely, when it came to like the big band era, it's definitely like the Count Basie, the Duke Ellington, and then kind of goes from there.
Well, so, like,
by decade and generation, right?
Yeah, big band is. I feel like it's more like not an antiquated sound, but it's just like it's different. You know what I mean? It's like mid.
You love it at Disneyland, so don't say
True. But I mean, there's like what I like as far as like, cause what I end up listening to like playlist wise for my kid is like, or just myself when it comes to writing. I like classical is like whatever. It makes you brain think and all that kind of shit. And like I don't like fucking Beethoven. I don't he sucks. Beethoven, trash.
Maybe Beethoven, you can suck my
Beethoven,
dick.
fuck him. But like that kind of shit, we're just like, yeah, I get that. Like it generates brain activity, but I feel like anything that's like instrumental, you're not getting caught up in the lyrics, is going to do the same thing too. So might as well find something that has more of your style, more of your funk, right? And that, Kring Bing, or where the fuck their name is.
So close.
Yeah. Carrie Bing,
Yes.
Carabiner.
Yeah, there it
they're
is.
fucking,
Yeah.
they're solid. But like the Menahan Street band and the Budo's band, and they have a very similar sound where it's just kind of like even like the Hermanos de Gutierrez. They're another like, it's a duo, two brothers, hence the name Hermanos de Gutierrez. But like they just kind of like, I saw them open for Leon Bridges in San Diego a few months ago.
Oh, fun.
And dude, it was like fucking super cool because like it's their version. It's called the Shell. It's like their version of the bowl right on the beach, right? So there's no fucking chair, so you're just standing there. So as like a 40-plus-year-old dude standing for like 3 hours, my back was
I was gonna say,
killing
how your
me. I
knees
was
feel,
fucking
yeah.
all fucked up.
That's
I'm like,
crazy.
I was so stiff from just standing still. It was so fucked up. But like just watching them fucking nerd out on their instruments and shit, like they fucking made them, the way they played them. and like then seeing like a sea of like 10,000 people also, watching in the same like awe and amazement was really cool, because it wasn't like a bunch of fucking pyrotechnics and a bunch of crazy shit. It was just like two dudes fucking vibing and playing some music together, and then Leon Bridges came out and did his shit, and like they kind of like collaborated and stuff. But like that kind of shit's cool when it comes to, they have like trumpets and horns and stuff like that, like in some of the other bands. That like you don't typically hear in like most modern, like anything on the radio. None of that shit plays that kind of stuff. Like the radio is just like trash for like it is the McDonald's of music.
But the thing is, even my Spotify is trash though. Like I'll be honest,
well, what they say for like top hits or what, but like the algorithm does a good job introducing you to bands that you might not.
Spotify at me, sorry. My algorithm with a premium account is still trash. Sorry. I just want to be yeah. Sorry, but you were saying like.
Really? So it never like turns you on to something you never heard before?
Well, like here's my thing right now. It's like music's pretty like I'm pretty precious about music for some reason. I don't know why, but I'm not.
You're a trumpet player, dude.
I'm not like, but I'm not like an aficionado. I'm not like this super well versed. I could tell you who played on the third recording of this. Blah blah blah. I know people like that, and I love them.
Yeah.
I like that stuff's cool. We are in a world where like music is also going from like we used to have bands with band members in them, and now we've got a producer who has a beat.
So here's the thing, though,
which I love.
Okay,
before we get into that, I do love my EDM, but I'll get into that a whole.
But it's interesting because I was listening to like so a couple things. The bands like it's Minahan or Menahan Street. It depends on Alexa fucking corrects me. Because Alexa, so Amazon Music has a dope algorithm.
Okay.
Like, but there's like they had an album that came out in 2009, right?
Yeah.
And then Kid Cudi's like first major label album came out, like Man on the Moon.
Yeah, great album.
Came out, and he actually took a couple fucking samples off that fucking. So I think it's like Solo Dolo, that song. Yeah. Right. Yeah. He has a fucking sample from that Menahan album, which came out that same year. So it's cool to see when someone like, oh, I like this. I'm inspired. I wrote this song within months of this being released, type shit. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the cool thing when it comes to producers and stuff like that. And he's like a producer and an artist as well, where they take something and it makes them think about something like that. And then recently, again with my kid, I try to find stuff that's like a little more kid friendly, but like also constantly expanding his fucking like palette of music. But we're listening to like old school hip hop, like Grandmaster Flash and fucking who's the other one?
My dad was a classic rock guy.
Yeah, so I do all the classic rock. So AC/DC's been through that catalog, but then there's like the for whatever reason, I was just driving the other day. I was like, "You ever hear this song before?" So I was playing like "The Message" or like from Grandmaster Flash and like the early '80s hip hop. But like that's cool too, where you hear this shit where it's just like you're taking beat breaks and you're compiling them to make an actual song. So there's like as much as like people shit on like it's not the same as playing live, but there's still an element of artisticness there where you're taking something that's it's a different medium, right? So you look at like. If you're an art connoisseur, right, you're not going to be like, oh, I only like charcoal drawings. I don't like fucking like, pastels. I don't like fucking like oil paintings. It's just like art is, it's interpretive, right? So you appreciate it in different, formats and stuff like that. But I wouldn't necessarily say like, I don't like a certain thing unless it's country music.
What's crazy though, because that's how I feel about comedy. I really don't like, I'm not going to label it XYZ jokes. Yeah. I don't like certain types of, there's nothing funny to me for it.
Okay.
And that's what's wild.
Why don't you want to label it though?
Well, because it's like when I've talked to comedians about it before, I'm not trying to like mess up anyone's craft. Yeah. Because I do believe in like story, like, and this is a whole other conversation. Like, we produce some shows here. Yeah. Some are better than others. That is just an honest opinion. Yeah. Right? And like I told you the other day, there was something about the Secret Comedy Show and a few of those. I'm like, oh, it's been a while since we've seen it. Yeah. So I've been really appreciating how much I've missed it because of what you were able to curate some nights. Yeah. Some nights.
Yeah, it's funny though, because I agree with you. I think there is stuff that's like, again, I feel like you can tell whether it be music, comedy, or whatever it is, something that's organic and you're not actually just trying to wordsmith a joke together. Yeah. Where it's just like, A plus B equals fucking C in comedy format or, in math or whatever the fuck it is. But like you're getting to evoke a reaction and shit like that, but like some shit's corny, right? And it's also sterile, right? So if you take a similar way of telling that same thing with an organic fucking story and you get the same mechanics, that's when you get something that's really good. So like, two specials I watched recently. I watched Anthony Jeselnik's new special and I watched fucking Nate Bargatze's new special. And Jeselnik's really good, but like as much as I think he's like one of the fucking greatest comics out there, but like, I'm not watching that being like, I want to be more like him. Like, he's really funny. I like his style. It's not my style, right?
Yeah.
Watching Nate Bargatze, I'm like, he's really funny. I like his style. My style is kind of like that. He's far more advanced and funny than you know what I mean? But there's just like this thing where like, I gravitate more towards that because it's more up my alley. You know?
They're different deliveries.
And I'm not saying one's better than the other, but I just feel like there's just a
there's different flavors for sure.
But for me, it's like I do treat comedy in that sense though, where if I know an artist or comedian is known to do I guess X amount or some type of joke, I'm not gonna fucking buy it. I don't care.
Yeah,
I just don't care. Whereas a musician, I'll give him a chance. It's weird where I'll allow creativity to let me waste time.
Yeah,
showing up in the middle of a beach or whatever, right? To watch some dude 3,000, maybe 300 yards away on a big screen, which is wild, but I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
But that's the thing too, though. Music's like another like it's a different type of art form where like you can be in those like 500,000 people, Germany Music Fest and still get like a vibe while watching them. They're like a little tiny fucking, dot, a mile away.
Yeah.
You're still going to have some kind of like, pick up some kind of energy there and show that. But it's tough to have that translate with comedy and show that. And even that like, most recent like Nate Bargatze special, he films it in the round. It's at like some stadium in fucking Phoenix, right? It's fucking huge. And it's almost like he's at the point where it's like, I don't think he can go any bigger with his style of humor and shit. Like it's great. It's a phenomenal special, but like he's just a very, deadpan, dry delivery type guy. And it's just like, you're almost reaching the brink of like the capacity of like that energy is going to be channeled from what you put out on stage. Right?
That just gave me the thing there. That interesting note. Like when is a joke done? When is a song done even, right? Because like music, we're like, oh, it's one hit wonder, they'll live forever, right? I'll probably name one right now that I can't think of. But when is a joke done?
Never. I don't think it's ever done. I think you're ever done really writing a joke. I think you can feel like it's perfected, but I feel like, stuff that you can kind of come back. You might think of a better way to land it and stuff. And I think like, you can also just kind of like you're done doing it. So it's just like, if you actually like my fucking set, like nothing's ever been on TV. I have like zero fucking like real TV credits. So it's not like I'm going to just put them away, because it's like,
Mexico.
But some stuff, Mexico. Yeah. But some stuff's like, I don't want to go back because I don't want to do
nothing on air in America.
Yeah.
Huge in Mexico.
Tony's popular in like some third world countries.
There's like a following.
TV,
like, T-shirts of him and his Dracula
There's
outfit.
a bathroom where Tony's face pops up just to be like, wash your hands.
The world's greatest actor is here. That's what the fuck that dude was telling me too when I picked up. Like, oh, I'm so happy
like some
here.
company sponsor. Like you're like
the Tony Klein is here. I'm like the Tony. I'm like yeah.
I think art can be done. I think at a certain point, like it has to be done. Like you have to be like, okay, enough is enough, and just let it go. And I mean, that's like
I'd be fine with it, but I feel like there's always room for improvement. I mean, it depends on the joke though too. You know what I mean?
There's comedians that have sets and jokes that have not changed forever, and like they just are that joke. Like Brian Regan has like jokes like that where like people know him so much that they'll call him out at the end of his sets and be like, just do that joke. Like they already know the punchline, but he's like, he just does it, like knocks it out because it's like it's done. It's like it's got everything you want, And I think it's like that with music too. Like when a band makes or a person writes like a great song, like it just is. And I think those things that people create that are connecting to other people, they come out of the artist effortlessly.
Yeah.
I think that there isn't a lot of thought. It is kind of going back to what you were saying, is like, instead of it feeling like it was structured and made this way, like I think a lot of the stuff that is memorable just comes out of people, and it's just like this lucky time that you get where like, okay, that was that was like a special moment, and like I can't recreate it, I can't fuck with it, just like, but you captured it, you put it like lightning in a bottle, and you're able to do that. And some people are able to do that multiple times, some people only once, some people never.
What a vibe. That's like probably the coolest thing you've ever said on the show, man. Like sincerely, yeah. Because I'm like with music, I'm very like it's a time machine. It'll take me back to a moment that was either good, bad, whatever. A song will bring me back.
Yeah.
But something about capturing comedy, lightning in a bottle, that kind of makes a lot more sense. As someone who's been learning more of it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what I'm fucking talking about, but I know what I've seen. I know what does well on a general opinion.
I mean, I think we've seen it with all of our comedy friends. We were like, oh, that's fucking hilarious. Like, that's fucking great. Like, that made me laugh. That, like, did the thing. It scratched the itch, you know, did all the thing. Like, that's perfect, you know? And that's that lightning in the bottle thing. I didn't think whether they thought it would connect with people or not, like, it was effortless. It was something that they threw out there. They probably, you know, maybe didn't even think it was like this great thing. They just were like, oh, this is something that just came out and I just happened to, you know, put it out there.
That's like a call to action to the audience member too, though. Like, also try to connect. Like, I've been to show, people have taken me to stuff that I'm like, like, this is garbage. Yeah. But I will never try to have a bad time.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I just don't laugh as loud.
You're a good one, Alex. Some
Thanks,
people are
man.
sitting there like arms crossed, like, I'm not.
No, but I've
not
seen
like,
that.
not like me when
laugh.
I'm in the front row. I'm like, boo.
No, so really short story, but there was a show a couple weeks ago that I thought was the perfect setup for footage, like anything you would want as a comedian. Like, oh, the sound, everything was just set up so perfectly. But I'll tell you what, 4 seats in the front row, absolutely empty. No one's doing crowd work, but no one wanted to sit there because that's what people's perception of comedy is.
Yeah.
Oh, if I sit in the front, someone's gonna pick on me.
Yeah.
Ready? Why are you going to a comedy show if you're worried about getting offended? That's the part that's a whole other. Yeah.
I'm definitely one of those people. I'm like, you could tell. Like, I always tell friends when I go to a comedy show, I'm like, you do not want to sit in the front row unless you want to be part of the show. And I'm like, if you do, that's cool. Right. I like to sit back and I like to laugh. I like to laugh at the people that are getting picked on and getting part of the show and like being referenced in everybody's bit or like, you know, doing their crowd work.
Yeah.
I would rather be the observer than the participant. And same thing with like going to a music venue. Like when they're like, all right, now everybody like clap or like sing this or this. I'm like, I'm here to be entertained. I want to be entertained. I want to just sit here and enjoy my little beer and watch the show and listen or hear, you know, like all that. I don't want to be a participant in this.
Is going to concerts after 40 and like being with other people. So like I've gone to a couple concerts with some other mutual friends of ours, right? And I'm not the guy. I'm not the fist pumping guy. You know what I mean? Like I think I was when I was in my teenage years when I was like first like, I'm for the concert, fuck yeah. And now I'm just like, yeah, I'm here. I'm already showed up. You should be happy I showed up. I'm buying beer. I'm already fucking, you know, I'm putting money back in your pockets. But like and then I've seen like other friends of ours kind of like, man, Tony's kind of a stick in the mud. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm enjoying this. Like, are you having a good time? Like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just not gonna. It's not my job to sing the lyrics. It's his job. The guy on the stage right now. Like I'm having a good time.
If you're into into the act or whatever you're watching, like it just happens. Like you will get into it. Like you don't have to tell someone like, all right, now clap or sing or do whatever. Like people are just like when we went and saw Metallica, I was just like fucking like I was like singing all the lyrics myself. No one's telling me to like sing the lyrics now. Like here we go. Like you just like get in that groove and it's like fun with anything.
Basically, I'm saying I felt like there was like judgment from the people I was with. Is like I wasn't having as good a time as they were because I wasn't dancing around as much. I'm like, I'm fine. Like everyone has their own way of like experiencing concert. And don't make me get in my head about my fucking my interpretation of the music. I'm having a good time. But then I was also like, are they like, I don't want to go to concerts with Tony anymore. He seems like he's not fucking like I'm the Eric of the group and shit.
Damn. Eric of the group.
I am like kind of stoic when I do watch music bands play. I very I try to take it all in, and unless especially if it's someone new that I'm seeing and they're performing, then I'm more of like, you know, not critical, but like observing everything, and I want to like really understand what's going on. But if it's somebody that I know and I love the song and whatever, like I'll start like, you know, swaying or bobbing my head or whatever, you know, it just like happens, you know, I can't help it. It's uncontrollable, you know, as it should be.
When you would drink at shows or when you do drink at shows, do you tend to dance more?
No, I'm not a big. I'm
No,
not,
I'm just curious. I'm just curious.
Can't take this out dance floor.
Because he brought it up himself. He's like, "Oh, I dance," or Bob.
I
like headbang, like that's about as much dancing.
You know
as
the funny
I do.
thing is though, in your
Even
head,
with,
you probably think you're
music.
fucking out there like you're fucking like Beavis and Butthead, like you're doing animated shit, but you're basically just like a little tap like this on your fucking nothing's really happening. Because I do the same thing myself too, man. I'm like, I was really into that fucking concert. I'm like, no, you weren't. You're just fucking sitting like your ass was barely moving and shit and like kind of grooving, but like. When I was a young kid, man, especially going to punk shows and shit, I would try body surfing and all that kind of shit. Get up in the audience. I was in there for sure, but now it's just kind of like watching it from the removed sidelines and stuff. And then too, being like fortunate to have like side stage passes or backstage passes and kind of watching from that perspective. Now being back on the other side of things and stuff like that, it's nice to just kind of chill and observe and stuff like that. But I'm a sucker for a venue with seats now at this point.
Yeah, I just saw this thing where it was like, oh, should we get rid of reserved seating? I'm like, no, I know a few places that could use it.
For sure. Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
dude, I was like, when my barbers were in here, Jimmy and Jordan, we went and saw that fucking Cypress Hill concert like a couple years ago. And dude, I was like just super stoned and kind of just stuck watching and shit like that. And then again, too, same thing where I'm like in my own head about like just me from a bird's eye view, like, third person's perspective, like watching the fucking concert. Because like, it's the Roxy, it's fucking small, right? Like the fucking Cypress Hill's right there, like fucking 20 feet away from me. And I'm also like a 6'3" white dude, like, in this fucking, just holding my jacket like an old man, like, whoa, these guys are cool. And it's also like, a band that I bought their fucking, album in like second grade. Is one of the first fucking albums I ever got was Cypress Hill. But like, as much as I like them, I wasn't getting all crazy and dancing. I just like to fucking just chill and watch music like that, man. It's like, I'm really an old man now.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a whole thing right now with the EDM world where it's like, venues and artists are like overselling tickets, and it's a whole thing. And so when I first started going to these house shows or techno shows, I was going to warehouses and
are you in there like fucking like
no those guys are cool though. I get why they're there.
You got pacifier and shit.
Dude, I know,
cool
sweating
sticks.
in the middle of the fucking group. I like to hang out
for the
with
Navajo face paint and shit.
Jeez.
glow in the dark face paint,
Yeah.
all that shit.
That stuff's expensive.
That shit's just
But
like
hey, yo,
it
get
looks
it done.
exhausting.
Yeah,
it looks cool though, but don't get like when you're in the element and you're there at night and there's like black light and you're like on something maybe.
see, I missed that window, dude. And
you're like on
No,
something.
but I
maybe.
didn't know. I did a whole year of just sober shows because I was just going by myself. I used to go to my best year was 2 shows a month, and that was just like you name the venue.
I think going to shows by yourself is key though.
Yeah,
it's clutch. It's like I think the best experience you can have is going to a show by yourself. Really.
What shows you going to by yourself?
I went to Willie Nelson, and that was because Tony told me he's like, you should just. I came across a ticket for his like 90th anniversary or 90th birthday show, and it was only one ticket I got it for free, and so I was like, I don't know, I should go. And it was at the Hollywood Bowl, and I'm like, he's like, just go, man, just go by yourself. It'd fucking be awesome. You just sit and listen, whatever. And it was a whole different experience. I had only done that once. That was the only time I ever did it. But I was like, wow, this is like a whole different experience going 100% by yourself and just sitting and listening to music, and especially that style of music where it's singer-songwriter. It's like folky, so it's like storytelling, and a lot of it like very like heartfelt kind of stuff. And you're just kind of sitting there and just like really absorbing it all and taking it all in. And it was just a great experience to be not worrying about like, does someone that I'm with, they want to go grab food or go to the concession stand or hey, do you want to stay for the whole thing or can we leave? Or like all that kind of shit. It's just like you're just there. You can do whatever you want. There's like freedom within that, and then within that freedom, you just are able to focus more on the artist. And it was great. Like I should probably do that more often, like you were saying. Like doing 2 a month, like that'd be.
There was a time I'd buy a second ticket and then like I would post like, hey, anyone want to like who has free time? And then eventually you just save your money. Right. That's an extra drink now.
Yeah.
Because I did do my work. I did do my due diligence of putting myself out there between the relationships and like trying to like do something I loved and then also incorporate my person in that thing. And eventually I'm like, nah, fuck that. This is mine. So we got one. Well, with that being said, was that your only what was your favorite solo show though? If out of all that then? Was that the one?
That was the only one that I'd gone to by myself.
Oh, wow.
Like
And you loved it
by myself, and I loved it. I was
That's
like, wow, this
crazy.
is
I've
great.
never done that. Yeah.
This is just like very, I don't know, like it's kind of, it's more like how I am in my personal life. I'm like, don't really go out much. I'm kind of just by myself most of the time, so it was like, oh, this is kind of like that, but like,
How does that make you feel?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
They should just do more shows, all these artists doing all these secret shows and pop-ups and stuff. They should just do them at libraries. Right? Like, what are we doing here? Like, let's just
What are we doing here?
I just thought about that now too. I'm like, you go to the Hollywood Bowl, you see an amazing artist, you go by yourself, it's a whole thing, and like you have this experience. You as an audience member participated, which is like kind of what we're talking about, right? Like,
Well, that's why I do like going to see like more intimate venues and artists. Like when we put on like shows back in the day, like musical shows, and they were always in like little pubs and stuff like that, and it'd be acoustic artists, and those were always like really attractive to me. I always thought those were like really cool because there wasn't all these bells and whistles. There wasn't a big sound system thing, if anything, like you could literally turn all of it off and you could hear the artist, no matter who it was, playing their song. And then it made also like the attention focus on the artist because, it was kind of like, all right, it's quiet time. Now the person's playing.
Yeah.
And then you kind of have the room's attention, whether people wanted to give the attention or not. It just kind of like, that was like the atmosphere. And I've seen other artists with friends in smaller venues or people that were like, more well known, I guess, in those settings. And they're the smaller, the better for those. Like, I think it's just like, I don't know. It's just,
there's the thing about like artists getting into a venue that's too big for them, like going back to that, where it's like when a comedian doesn't overperform, underperform, whatever, but like performs at their level, venue wise, right? Like I think musicians and bands go through that too. I hate when like a band I'm following and I love, because of course I found them first, does a nice little show at some local, like, a Troubadour or something.
Yeah.
And then next month or next round of tour, they're at SoFi, and it's $130 for that same show.
right.
And like, lucky I was there. Am I going to spend that $130? Maybe.
Yeah, but you're not getting the same thing. In that,
Right.
It's different. It's
the
a whole
intimate
different
connection
experience.
shit,
Like when you're seeing the sweat come down the performer, his face, and like you can almost like feel the breath of their, like the hot air coming out of their mouth when they're singing, and like you're like, it's
The
really
steam, yeah.
Smell the wine on their breath.
Yeah, it's like intimate, I got to see a really great artist. His name is Martin Sexton. When I was living back in Wisconsin, I was turned on by a friend of mine, and he hates him, but I think he's.
It was a good show.
He's got an incredible voice. He's just incredible, and he's this little short, little chubby guy. He looks like Jack Black, and he's an older dude, and just an incredible voice. And he was playing at this venue in Milwaukee where. In the movie Spinal Tap, where they have they play the stage where Stonehenge comes down.
Oh man,
so that's in Milwaukee.
Oh,
and so that venue was like a 15-20 minute drive from my hometown. And so I was like, oh shit, like I'm gonna go down and see him. So I went down right after work and I got tickets early. And it's a small place. It's fits 100 people, like maybe 100. And the stage is real low, like it's only like 4 feet off the ground, so everyone's like right there. And when I opened up the door to go buy the ticket, I ran into him. Like literally ran into him. I was like, oh shit. I'm like, Martin. I'm like, dude, you're playing it already? He's like, yeah, brother, you coming to the show? I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm coming to this. Is nuts. And I'd seen him, ironically, like a few months before, he opened up for John Mayer. And I didn't know anything about this guy. And I wasn't like a huge John Mayer fan. This was like his first album that came out. The guy I was playing music with was a big fan of his. So I was like, yeah, I'll go to the show with you. And he opened up. And everybody thought he was the sound guy fixing the mic.
Hilarious.
And came out because he was wearing a black shirt, jeans, just looked like a roadie guy,
Yeah.
And then comes out, fixes the mic, puts on a guitar. We thought he was just tuning it for him, and then just belted out like this crazy note. And I was like, holy shit, who the fuck is this guy? And everybody, and this was in this giant venue in Wisconsin called the Rave, and it was like the venue where the last venue that Buddy Holly and like the Big Bopper and all those guys played
that flight?
where they flew and they ended up dying.
Flew off of their deaths after that.
Yeah. So it was at that venue. So it's like this really cool historic venue. And after he played his set, I was like, oh, this is fucking crazy. And like left before even like John Mayer played, like got into his first song, I was like, oh, well, this is not anything even close to what this guy just did. Like he fucking wrecked it for me.
Yeah.
But being in those like intimate like venues like that it's so fucking cool, you know? It's a whole different experience. Like, so being able to see like a metal band or something like that too in those smaller places, it's just like,
and the sweat's coming off the fucking
roof
and
like
shit.
it's just different.
The first mosh pit was the Whiskey A Go Go. So
yeah, that's small venue, super small venue. Like those are like tiny.
Gosh, I still follow them. They're this band out of like Greece, and they're a Grecian metal band called like Alexander's Stop or something. And I still follow them to this day. They're freaking amazing. And then Morbid Angel at that time was the headliner.
Morbid Angel.
Yeah. And if you, I'm not, again, I listen to a lot of music. I like a lot.
Yeah.
When Morbid Angel came out, I was like, I think I love metal music.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It was one of those moments.
Yeah.
Got to see him. It was cool. Done deal. And then like, but Whiskey A Go Go was the smallest. I mean, the stage was there, and then the bar is right here.
Yeah, you're like you can't not have like a bad seat. Everyone has front row seats basically. Yeah. Like you're right there with the band. You're basically on stage with this craziness coming at you, and it's fucking awesome. I always felt like playing. Like my music always kind of progressed. It started playing acoustic music with a buddy of mine, and then I played like rock and roll and then heavy metal. But the reason why was because every time I was introduced to like a heavier version of what I was doing, I was like, oh, that's fucking sick. Wow. Oh, that's even sicker. And then it was like, eventually got me into like playing in like a really like drop D tuning, like metal, like heavy, like melodic rock band, you know, that was like,
then all of a sudden, heartbreak. And then Eric's like, just give me another fucking music.
But I mean, it all went
acoustic guitars,
full circle. But that's always still like listening to that music always makes me like feel like, oh, that's like the dominant force of music. Like,
right.
Is that is like I don't care who you are, like, but if you come in and you're fucking playing some sick riff,
harmonizing guitars, double kick, all that shit.
Yeah, just like all that. It just has this like vibe about it that just like this will kill all other music. Like it's like this will murder anybody, and that's why you have that, like, why people look that way. You know, like those bands like have that like energy about them. I don't know. They're just like the most badass fucking like version of music. Like it kills everything. Like, I mean, everything. Like nobody can come up like after like you hear like a fucking like sick metal band play that like
ripping guitar shred.
And just that like
double kick drums. Like
nobody's gonna like follow that and be like better than that. Like as far as like that emotion, I feel like it just stirs something up.
Yeah, I love it. I do. I again listen to a lot of stuff. With that question, sorry, I have to ask now. Whether comedy or music, what is the best venue you've been to for any, like, I guess, entertainment? Out of curiosity, I know it's tough because I'm mainly music, and I have my hits and misses on everything. I think one of the best venues still though for me. Gosh, it's weird. It's a toss-up. I like Sound Nightclub because of the moving stuff over here in Hollywood, like the ceiling moves and stuff. It's rad. Really? It's cool, especially when you're like watching a show. It's a nice little thing.
It's a nice little
it's great trip. I got the whiskey and Coke in the back, and I'm just watching the stage dude, and I'm hanging out in the back. That's really what I'm doing. And it's a good sound system. It's not too bad. I don't know. I think Dodger Stadium, I know this is going to sound crazy, was kind of cool to see a music thing at.
I've never seen anything at Dodger Stadium. I saw 2 concerts at SoFi in the last year and a half.
It's great venue.
And they were completely different. I saw Metallica and I saw Green Day, and I feel like Green Day was better just because like they filled the way that they were set up too was just like, it was different. Like, so that also depends, but like that's also a mega venue. But like the ones that are pretty much the staples, like the Whiskeys and Roxy shit that's on the Sunset Strip. The Roxy, I've seen a lot of really dope ass concerts in that same like type of thing. It reminds me a lot of the rave back home, where it's like a small venue. Yeah. People might complain about the sound and the acoustics and shit, but like again, the energy and just seeing one of your favorite bands perform there, I think that's probably the coolest thing LA wise. Palladium's dope too. I like that. That's a great venue. Yeah.
I've seen some crazy stuff.
Yeah, you know what? That's probably one of my favorite venues. One where we saw Flyleaf at and Nonpoint.
Yeah, dude.
That was a great sounding venue
for sure.
And it's like we didn't have like front row. We were like on the top, whatever. And it was like a great like view. Like it wasn't like it's
all standing.
Yeah, you get the general admission tickets, and you just go in right when you walk in the Palladium. There's like a little fucking horseshoe. It's almost like an ice skating rink half wall.
Yeah,
and you just kind of lean back there. No one fucks with you, and you have a great vantage point. You're like close enough to see shit, and then you're also like easy access to the bathroom because I got a small bladder and shit that, or beer goes through me and stuff like that. But like, I've seen like I saw Seven Dust there, fucking like the Flyleaf, Nonpoint. I saw Less Than Jake, a bunch of like punk bands and ska bands last year there. But it was like really fucking cool where it's just like it's not too big. You get that small venue vibe, but it's also like it's not something that it's changed per band, right? Where it's just like something like a stadium show.
Yeah,
you're gonna have like whatever their set design's gonna dictate how the fucking band performs, right? Where it's just like because we saw Metallica and they're almost in the round, right? Where there's like
that was like uber produced and like
exactly
overdone. It was still like great sound.
When I saw
that was a really fun show, but it was definitely like almost to the point where it's like this isn't Metallica really. This is like some.
But the thing that's weird about that though, dude, is like
produced version of what they used to be. It's like the commercialized version of what Metallica was. It was like, all right, now it's time for the beach balls, and they drop all these beach balls, and it was like, what is this? Like I think if you're like Metallica's like younger versions of themselves saw this, they'd be like, what the fuck is this? This isn't Metallica.
I was wondering who's the fucking guy that brings the beach balls to like a Dodgers game? Because there's always something that like. It's like I just like
they probably do it. The venue probably does.
I don't think
so.
I don't know. But like it's somebody's like just like
I bring
hon, you got the keys?
I've brought him.
Don't forget the beach ball. You know what I mean? Like just
I'm
like
the guy.
No, I brought him in. I've legitimately brought him in. You just put him back in, put him under a diaper or some shit. Like you're depending on your group. Fuck. No one's gonna question it.
You just been back. Blowing it up.
Wait, see where people make mistakes though is they blow it up in front of like a security guard or something. And you're like. Wasted your whole because people love that beach ball.
People love that beach ball.
They do. That's a big part of the game. Even at that concert I went to, and the reason why I like Dodger Stadium as a concert venue, it sounds whatever. It's just for whatever reason, it's just like a big like LA staple. It is everything.
Dodger Stadium is the shit.
Yeah,
it's fucking cool.
Talk about experiences and moments. You fought the traffic. You got up the hill.
Yeah.
You saw the skyline. Downtown's right there.
Yeah,
you're gonna, and then you've got. Dodger Stadium.
Yeah. And it's
regardless
like,
if you're a baseball fan.
It's an art piece in itself.
Yeah.
It's like a time capsule because it's all like, it's
the amount of people and energy and heart and like hate and love and just like all
legacies.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, I could see like that place being a really cool venue to watch like
shit
some
sound. But it was fine. It was great. It was cool. It was. I mean, because of course, what show with fireworks is going to be bad?
Yeah.
You're gonna have a good time at least at the fireworks.
Yeah. Dude, it's funny because like the last Dodger game I went to was on the 5th of July this past year, and it was a Friday game, and usually on Fridays they do fireworks, but since they did them the day before on Thursday, they did a drone show.
Okay, all right.
Which
you got me still.
But the drone show they did was like an anime drone show because it was Anime Week, and I was like, what the fuck is this? It was just like all the
Careful with Pikachu. I like Pikachu.
It wasn't even Pikachu. It wasn't even anything that you noticed. It was just like it was like a Dodger player, and then it started like crying out the tears on the sides of the face. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? And I was with my son. I was like, I wanted fireworks. I wanted fireworks for my kid. I'll take a drone thing, but it was like the most produced thing was the logo that flew out at the end. And I was like, okay, this is not what I wanted. Like, you could have kept this shit.
Yeah,
like, man.
I mean, well, I
think that's on
show,
maybe on all of our 2025 things to do list is go to a live concert.
All right, we should do it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's literally like 9 venues on the street.
Yeah, every week.
I want to
literally like right down like less than a block, closer than a block away now. To like giant, national.
I'd like to go to the Bowl or the what's the Greek. Greek theater's fun. You ever been to the Greek?
I like the Greek.
I've never been there, but you tell me it's great.
For sure.
Greek is
go
great.
there.
In terms of sound, great.
Here
hate when it's
first,
cold.
folks.
I do want to go to like I do want to go to the Roxy or the Whiskey or even the Viper Room, as long as that's still around, and go see like a metal band, and just like with all the freaks and geeks and everybody that's in there, just wearing leather and fucking whatever, and just stand there and sit in the back and watch.
All right.
I think it'd be fucking cool.
I'm gonna call you out
because that shit's always going on over there.
It's been a minute for me.
Even on the marquee today, it's like Slayer face, and you know what? All the names are crazy. Like, oh yeah, that's the shit.
You can't when you can't get let into the club because you're spikes.
Yeah. Your spikes must be this tall to get into this club.
You can't come in with that 4-inch spike.
They must be that. They must at least be 6 inches.
Dude, I remember that. That was a time. That time because people used to mosh and we'd get hurt.
And we'd get hurt.
Yeah.
Well, Alex, this is the part of the podcast where we ask our producer.
Yeah.
You know the drill.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Alex, Petty Cash Studios. Follow Petty Cash Studios. Follow the Eric and Tony Show, please. These guys, they put in a lot of good work. They're here every week. They work hard. And then they try to find time for their friends and shows they do here, and as you can hear, for each other. So yeah, definitely tap in, like, follow, subscribe, do all the things. But that's just me, Petty Cash Studios. Do that for them too.
Yeah. It's all cyclical. It all works together here. Yeah. It's all one big family.
Help us.
What about you, Tony? Where can people find you?
At Tony Klein Comedian on Instagram and my website, TonyKleinComedian.com. We'll be doing an open mic here Sundays after this podcast next week going forward. So if you're a comic watching, you're like, hey, well, how can I get some free stage time with the purchase of a beer or water? Message me. I'll give you the details and stuff. Eric, where can they find you?
You can find me on this podcast. Just go to the Eric and Tony Show, type that in the Google, all the things will come up. And we do all the shows on all the platforms, little clips and stuff. And that's where you can find me. You can also go to the ericandtonyshow.com and purchase a t-shirt or a beer mug and help support the show. That also helps support Petty Cash Studios and Alex. Helps everybody.
Yeah.
So that's where you can find us. And thanks again, Alex, for filling in for Ben, who was supposed to be here, but it's not.
What a surprise.
And congratulations on your
Coke.
Congratulations on your free
I've got
Coke.
some rum for this, man. This is going to be great.
Num.
All right. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye, y'all.